guess what happened, Kevin, is that I made a mistake with Alvaro. He thought that it was Saturday, and I told him it's today, so he could not come. So I asked another of my students to come. A student of mine from Milan. Where is he? So
Okay, so you can hear us?
yeah. Xenia, what's going on with Cesare? Hello? Yes, I can hear you. Xenia? Alors, basically, thank you for welcoming us. So my student will come in about maybe 5 minutes. He works in private equity, so he's a bit busy. Alors, maybe, I don't know, how many students are here today?
We've got 3 wonderful students inside the classroom and 2 amazing students online.
Okay. So maybe, I don't know, the one was the pink, before we start, the pink shirt. So
that's probably Gustavo. He's got the most fashion sense here.
Okay, he's a fashion model. So Gustavo, what do you want to study, Gustavo? Hello?
Where?
Oh,
yeah, where in which program you want to study?
You mean where?
Yes, where would you like to do your master's degree at?
Hello, Cesare.
Hello. Yeah.
Hi, Hubert.
Hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. You don't know, you have an idea of where you want to study?
Yeah. I would like to study the MBA in UCLA or Berkeley.
Okay, so you want to study in California. Okay,
yeah.
Very good. What about you? The person was the blue shirt. Where are you? Goulet? No?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I'd like to do it maybe in Chicago.
Okay, so MBA Chicago booth. Okay. So by the way, we had a student accepted to Chicago booth, Guzman, got accepted. You remember, Kevin? About Guzman?
Yes, I remember. Where was he from? From Chile?
He was from Uruguay.
Uruguay, right.
He was working for Ben or BCG, I forgot, and he got accepted to Chicago. And the person with the other one that I didn't ask, I don't know your name.
Hi, Juan. I'm Juan. It's called Kevin.
Juan, okay.
I'm thinking about INSEAD in Paris. I think it's
so MBA INSEAD. Okay, so it's, of course, the school that we know very well. And the 2 others that are not there, I don't know who they are, but we probably have. I guess there's Rania. Rania, where do you want to study, Rania? Hello?
Like to go, yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, of course I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, me, I'd like to go to Bocconi in Italy.
Bocconi, Italy, and you want to do a master's there, and not an MBA.
No, master in management, yes.
Yeah, Mariam. Okay, and you like Bocconi especially? Okay,
yeah.
It's a good thing because Cesare is Italian and he's in Milan now. Okay, but Cesare, nice to talk to you. Basically, as I explained yesterday, we made a mistake with Alvaro. So I asked a student of mine to come to join. Okay, who is super nice and who is also a good friend. So is Cesare. Cesare, so what is your current situation, Cesare? What are you doing in Milan? Can you explain what you're doing in Milan now? Yeah.
So hi Hubert. Thank you for inviting me. Nice to meet you guys. So yeah, currently I'm in Milan. I'm working for a private equity fund. It's called Ardian. It's a French private equity fund. This is my second experience. So basically, right now I'm in my gap year because I started HEC. I did the Grande École, master in management. Then after I finished the gap year, came here to Milan and I worked in M&A and now in private equity. And then after that, we'll go back to HEC and continue with the master in finance. This is a quick overview.
Yeah. So basically, Ardian is probably a company that you know. It's one of the biggest private equity firms, and it's a spin-off of AXA. As you know, when they have decided to restructure AXA because of the risk coming from the private equity sector, AXA had to get rid some of its private equity fund. And this Mrs. Barbieri was the CEO of this company, who decided to buy it. She did a sort of LBO, so I don't know how she did because it was billions and billions. And with the rest of the team, they bought Ardian and probably we have probably other investors involved. So by the way, just to tell you what we do. So Cesare was my student when he was at McKinsey. He was working as an analyst there, I remember, on Cesare, and he wanted to go for an MIM badly, okay? By the way, you could have also applied for an MBA, because at that time when you applied, you had close to 2 years of work experience, okay? But you have decided to go for a master's instead, because you know when you have 2 years, masters or MBAs are possible, okay? I have students now who have been accepted to the HEC Yale MIM program called Silver Scholar, and they have 3 years of work experience. So to give you an idea of what we have done, so this month I send you a quick overview of what we have done. So this month we had like 6 students accepted to top MBAs. We had Aquilino, remember Kevin Aquilino, who got accepted to MIT, Wharton, and Columbia. Carmen, who got accepted to Wharton and the Columbia deferred MBA, to mean that they will start their MBA in 2 years. They are still ECAD students, okay? And then we had Juan and Gabriel, who got IAC, and then Nuria, who got HEC, IAC, LBS in SEAD, and Nacho, who got LBS, IAC, and INSEAD. So we have a lot accepted of the students accepted to INSEAD. Alors, so basically, Cesare, because the students that we have now, they are following GMAT classes. What was the most difficult part of the admission? It was the GMAT as well?
Yeah, so the admission at HEC was consisting in different steps. So definitely one of them was the GMAT. I remember, so I applied for the GMAT in 2020. It was definitely a very important component. The GMAT is a fundamental part of your admission. Definitely, depending on the school, it's weighed differently. But at HEC is definitely a very, very big component. And hearing the schools that you want to apply to, I believe that it's a very, very important component as well there.
Yeah, so you have to see. Now, Kevin, what is the difference according to you? Because what students wants to study at INSEAD Bocconi, others want to study in the US. Among your students, do business schools weight the GMAT differently in Europe and in the US?
I think less so in Europe, I think.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that you've taken a lot of my students with GMAT scores that were not impressive, say around 650, good scores, but not top scores, and get into some great programs here in Europe. They're the best. Whereas I think if you apply to an American school with a 650, it's possible, but it's more of an uphill struggle.
Yeah.
I think American MBAs they pay attention a little more to the number.
Yes, that's true.
And that's probably not surprising, because I'm sure in Europe they're more familiar with the education system here, and they take a more holistic view.
Yeah, yes, I agree with you. Basically, what I've noticed, because we have expanded in India this last 1 year and a half, what I've noticed that for the Indian students, they are very demanding. I had Indians rejected at IAC with a 730 this year, because they have so many applicants. So that if you're European or South American and you apply with a 650, you have a pretty good chance of getting INSEAD, provided that the rest of the application is good. For instance, so Nacho, he got a 650 and he got IAC, LBS, and INSEAD on the last round. Okay, and Nuria, she got in with a 680, and she got all the schools. It's true. Cesare got 680, if I remember. And Cesare, you got 680. It was a pretty good score.
I got 700.
Okay, 700. I mean, you took it 2 times maybe. Basically, that's what happens. Okay, so of course the GMAT is very important. So for instance, Gilles, so Guilherme, you want Chicago. If you get less than 720, it won't work. Okay, so you need a pretty high score. So for instance, this year with Kevin, we had 5 students who got accepted to top MBA. So Aquino, he got 730, Carmen 700, Luis, who got MIT, got 740, Enrique 720, if I'm right, and Guzman 700 or 710. So they all got more than 700. Okay, so basically, need a good score. And Kevin, do you see that the GMAT is also important for scholarships? Do you think it's an important component of the scholarship as well?
Oh, of course, yeah. I don't know. I know that a lot of my students apply for scholarships through La Caixa or other foundations here in Spain, Ortega or something like that. There's a lot, Fulbright. There's a list of them.
Yeah.
And I think MBA programs, if you have a strong GMAT score, they can give you a reduction in tuition. I'm sure that's quite common.
So it's an important part. It shows your motivation, it shows etc. Now, by the way, so now that we know about the process, so the process whether you apply for INSEAD or Chicago is the same, except that some schools have a video interviews, and it's true that the video interviews are quite common in Europe. For instance, INSEAD, IE, LBS, Imperial, they have one. Strangely enough, less so. By the way, Kevin, do you know that the girl who invented video interviews, who created this company called Kira, is a Canadian like you? She's Canadian. It's a Canadian company, Kira. You know? Yeah. It's a Canadian company, but it was bought by ETS, and there is probably a reason behind that. Cesare, you have studied both in Chicago and in.
I'm keeping the webcam closed because the connection is not very good.
Very good. It's not very good. Now, basically, Cesare, the question that I have for you is that what difference do you make between studying in America, where you did your bachelor, you studied at Chicago, and studying in Europe? It seems that you prefer Europe, by the way. But what difference do you make, according to you, and what do you recommend regarding that?
So there is a big difference. I would say, to keep it short, in Italy it's very theoretical. You study a lot on the books, and you get to know, in strong detail everything which is contained within the book. So very theoretical. In America, it's very practical. So you tend to study less on the book and to be focused more on the practical side. So you do a lot of case studies. You study real life examples. As a matter of fact, when people start to work in the States, they have less theoretical background, but then they tend to get an extensive training in the firms. Like all the colleagues that I knew back in the States, when they started to work, regardless of what position, they started to have extensive training of 2-3 months in companies. So companies teach you exactly what to do in those months, and then you're ready for the job. In Europe, it's not like that. In Europe, it's completely different. You learn on the job as you go. You have a very strong theoretical knowledge that is a strong, important foundation for you to apply all the concepts that they teach you in the firm, and you have to live with that every day.
Yeah.
In America, it's definitely easier from a work perspective, but it's less detailed from an academic perspective.
Okay, very good. It's true. By the way, I remember when I worked in the US, I did an internship. I remember, even for a 3 months internship, I had to do a 2-week training. Okay, and I have a son at JP Morgan, so he studied the first 3 months with the training, and if he had failed the training, he would not have kept the job. So the training is compulsory. You get a grade, you have an exam, and if you miss the exam at the end, you're fired. Okay, so it's
like
great.
For instance, sorry to interrupt you, but I worked at McKinsey, which is an American company from Chicago, here in Milan, and they had zero training, completely zero training.
Yeah.
So this is just like an example. But if you go to McKinsey London, for instance, London is a bit different. It's also like a strong door for America, because there are a lot of problems with the visa in the States if you want to stay there, etc. So a lot of people that perform particularly well and they have a position in London, if they're lucky, they get sponsored and they go in the States for a tryout.
Yeah.
And in London, the London situation is a bit different. But in every other country in Europe, you don't tend to get a lot of training. I don't have a lot of experience outside of Italy, but from what I heard, the training is not so extensive.
Yeah. So I don't know, there's Adrian Pratt. Adrian, you have a question to ask? Adrian? Hello? Adrian? Adrian? No, I don't know, you cannot talk.
He may need to unmute his microphone.
Okay, are you mute his microphone or you muted his microphone? Okay. There's one of our students from India, by the way, that I invited, and it's very late for him. So Samrat, I know that you have just started with us. So Samrat, you have a question to ask us? I know that you're from India, so maybe you have a question for us. Samrat? Hello? Samrat? Hello, again. I don't know, don't hesitate, and if you have a question to ask us, there's no problem. Now, basically, there's also something else that we have to consider. It's the duration, okay? So I've seen that, for instance, Juan told me that you want to go for INSEAD, okay? And other students like Gustavo or Guilherme want to study in the US because they want a 2-year program. Of course, I have my options on that, okay? Knowing that now, of course, a lot of the students, they go for they look for an ROI, okay, and many study in a 1-year program, hence the success of INSEAD. You agree, Kevin, that we had a lot of students accepted to the MIM and MBA this year at INSEAD, and there's a reason, okay? So, but me, I'm not too much in favor of short programs, okay? And Cesare is going to explain. Basically, Cesare is in the best MIM in the world because the Master in Management at HEC is like the Harvard of the MIM, if you want, okay? And still, it shows HEC for the reputation, of course, but also for the program structure. Can you explain to us how a 2-year program works versus a 1-year program, Cesare?
So at HEC, when you join for a master's, you have different options. You can either choose Master in Management, also called the Grande École, or you can choose a specialized master. So if you choose the Grande École, this is how it works. The Grande École is a management program, so very broad management program that you can personalize. You can customize all of your electives. You can adapt it to your passions, your career aspirations. And then once you're done, after basically 10 months, you have the option to decide to go straight into a specialized master or to apply for a gap year. I decided to apply for a gap year, and in my personal situation, it was the best option because I wasn't really sure what to do. So I worked a lot in M&A and private equity, and now I'm sure about my career goals. So now I'm going back to HEC knowing that I want to apply exactly for a Master in Finance, tailored specifically to these goals. So this is one option, the Grande École. The other option is to go straight into the specialized master. So if you are a candidate that knows very well what you want to do, you can apply for a master in, let's say, marketing. You can apply for a master in finance. You can apply for a master in accounting, finance, and management. You can apply for a master in entrepreneurship. There is a very big entrepreneurship hub at HEC. So there are a lot of different specialized masters that last 10 months. Then you do a thesis at the end, thesis on what you want to, what you're passionate about, and then you finish. So these are the two options that HEC offers. From what I know, most of the people, when I joined the Grande École program, there were 300 people. 300 people in the entire Grande École program. Out of these 300, I would say that 70% did the gap year.
Okay.
So this is more or less the overview.
So basically what I want to say is that you'll have basically a lot of Kevin students, by the way, when I meet them, they want to go to the US and maybe after that they change their mind. But it's true that getting a 2-year MBA is not a bad option, okay? Because like the 2-year Master in Management, you have year 1, you are going to do like a general management course, okay? And year 2, you will specialize. And plus, you have a summer internship, okay? That will allow you to work like for 2-3 months in a company, okay, and probably get an offer from there. Okay, now to give you an idea.
And then, sorry, Hubert. Then also you were talking about other schools. HEC has a strong partnership with American schools. For instance, Yale, and a lot of students decide to do their master, their specialized master, either a part of it in HEC, and then they move to the abroad university in the US or Europe, or straight abroad. So you have these two options.
Yeah.
For the entire 10 months of the specialized
It's
master.
true. And that's something that you also have with the HEC MBA. So imagine that your GMAT is not stellar, okay? You get, I don't know, 600, okay? And you want something good, so you can still do the HEC MBA with the Yale Master in Management, okay? Which is not bad. And the Yale Master in Management is a STEM program, so it gives you a 3-year visa post-MBA somehow. But it's not a bad option. Huh? As you know, HEC is top in the top. Is always,
if you're interested about
HEC,
interested about HEC, you can go on the website. You can download the brochure of the Grande École or specialized masters, or the MBA, for instance, and you can see all the different partnerships and programs they have.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that you have to consider, that you really take into consideration.
I'm also an ambassador of HEC, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah, of course, we will give them your contact information. Xenia, can you leave Cesare's LinkedIn, huh? Xenia, okay. Xenia, if you can leave Cesare's
LinkedIn. The MBA, from what I know, is very strong. If you see the ranking, it's top 10, first in Europe. Definitely first in Europe, in the world, and all the others that are above are very renowned universities, such as Harvard, MIT, but all of them are American. But HEC is very, very strong with the MBA, very strong.
Yeah, very good. So basically, that's something that you have to understand. So some people may say, oh, I don't need a 2-year program, but if you want to go in the US first, American companies in the US, they only recognize US degrees. Oxford, LBS, INSEAD, HEC is not recognized in the US. Huh? Okay, that's why if you want to go to the US and you go to HEC, do the double degree so that you have a Yale degree. Okay, and so on and forth. Of course, you get the visa to stay. Huh? And third of all, the job market, the US job market, is more dynamic than the European market. Huh? As you know, the Spanish job market is not super dynamic. The French one, not so much. A bit in Germany, a bit in London. It cannot be compared to the US. Tell me, Kevin, you come from Canada yourself, and why? According to you, I know that you're not like this. You're an open-minded person, but why do North Americans have little consideration for European business schools? I mean, the recruiters.
I suppose it's just to a lack of experience. I mean, Europeans, if they do go abroad to do an MBA, they often stay there, so they become almost American in that sense. But I guess they figure that they want professionals that can lead their companies, which are often based in the United States. So it's a good fit to have somebody with an American MBA. For them to go to exotic places like Europe and look for MBA graduates would be counterintuitive. And they're missing out on opportunities.
Yeah, it's true. Americans.
I think it has to do a lot with the local knowledge, with the local know-how that is required by the place you're working. For instance, in Italy, there is a strong to work in the top places in Milan, which is the most propulsive city in Italy. You have to come from Bocconi, but definitely because it's very technical, it provides the right knowledge. But also they welcome very much LBS, HEC, etc. but still Bocconi is preferred because in every city in Italy or also in other places, in other countries in Europe, they prefer the local university. University. In America, it's the same. They have their own circle of best universities that equip their students exactly in the way that companies want. So this is so if you want to have the flexibility and and the competitive advantage and that flexibility to be able to work either in Europe or America, I would say apply for a double degree or an exchange program that equips you with both experiences.
Yeah, you understand. So what Cesare says is very true, because basically you train the way you have to be trained to stay in the US, and second of all, you get the visa. Huh? Alors, I don't know. You know about the STEM visa? The STEM visa, Kevin? You want to explain, or you want me to explain what is the STEM program? You know what it is?
I only know what you've said about it. It sounds like a great deal. So that if you do a STEM master's,
or MBA,
I think you could stay there for 2 or 3 years. You have a
3 years. You have a visa for 3 years.
Is it 3 years now?
Yeah, 3 years. So of course it's a big plus, because imagine that you look for a job and you say I'm from Spain, you have a 3-year visa, and they will take you immediately. So the visa is no longer an obstacle. Me, for instance, when I was in the US, I finished my study in '98, and it was a big issue. Even though the economy was not bad at that time, but it was a problem.
And 3 years is a lot better than 2 years, because to hire somebody for 2 years, it may not be worth it, but 3 years is definitely is a lot better.
And then after 3 years, you see, Kevin, you see if the person fits or not, and then you can make a resident visa, and you can change the visa. Okay, after 3 years, it's worth the investment. Yeah. So basically, there's another issue, which is financing. But I think for you, in your case, Cesare, since you did in 2 years, you save money this year, etc. So it's not the same. So of course, there's an issue with financing. Of course, when you go for a European program, it's much easier to finance. INSEAD altogether can come up to 100,000 euros. In the US, it does not even cover the first year. So that's something that you have to consider. What I've noticed now a lot in Spain is that there are lots of foundations. The Fulbright, the Spanish American Education Foundation, CAIXA. So there is a lot available. But I suggest that you try to get an admit by December, so that you have time after that to apply to many scholarships. That's really something that you have to consider. Okay. Does anybody ask questions? Okay. Do you have questions? For instance, Adrian, Aman is with us, Gile, I don't know, Gustavo, Juan, Raina, Rania, Samrat. Do you have questions, all of you? No?
I have one question. What would you say it's a comfortable score to have in the GMAT? In order to have
Sorry, we cannot hear you well.
We can hear you well, yeah.
What would you say it's a comfortable score for the GMAT to have a lot of options, so we can not choose, but we can have flexibility when we choose?
You need at least 720. For an MBA, at least 720.
720.
Yeah, if you want to apply for a top US program, 720. As you know, for instance, I have a student from India who just told me that she got accepted to INSEAD. She had 700. Okay, 700 in the US would be very difficult as an Indian applicant.
I think at least 700 of options, but it's very important. I think it's as important to have a very strong, solid experience, work experience. What is your work experience, Karen?
It's not Kevin. It's this one is Juan, because he used Kevin's. Juan, what is your experience?
My experience: 5 years working in architecture firm here in Spain, Switzerland, and they're both in Spain and Switzerland.
So of course you need a strong background, because since you're an architect, Juan, since you're an architect, there are very few architects applying. What you have studied is very different from business. So you need to reassure them, letters of recommendation, we have to be very careful, a good GMAT. But in your case, it's important. See, for instance, last year, Lucien, for instance,
the letter of recommendation for me was extremely helpful because before I worked in a boutique, in a small boutique M&A here in Milan, because I wanted to get more exposure to the sector, and then the partner was liked me particularly, so I asked him to write me a recommendation letter, and that was very important to get into the master at HEC, the master in finance. So if you can get a recommendation letter, it's very important for the MBA. It increases your chances dramatically if you have a recommendation letter.
A good one, yes. But the letter, you see, one has to be meaningful at the same time. Okay, so basically you're an architect, so it's very important that you take a recommendation from someone who shows that you have business skills at the same time. I don't
links
your
experience.
That you're a great architect.
Links your experience to the MBA program you want to do.
Very important. Rania, you have a question for us? Rania, what questions have you got for us?
Yeah, maybe it's a stupid question, but I don't get the difference between an MBA and a master in management, and also when I talk about other people regarding the GMAT, some of them say, but you still have time because you're still at your second year, etc. Like the GMAT, you need to do it when you're after, not now. And this, I don't really get the point.
Alors, what do you think, Kevin? Are you still with us, Kevin?
Yes, I'm with you.
So do you think that we should take the GMAT early or at the last minute?
Well, you need to know when your application deadlines are. It's good to take it as early as possible, because if you don't get the score that you want, you have time to repeat it.
Yeah.
I mean, when you go to the exam, if you say it's do or die, that's just added stress. But if you say, I'm going to do the exam potentially 2 or 3 times, this is the first time, it takes a lot of pressure off you.
Yeah, right.
Right. So I say, do yourself a huge favor and give yourself enough time to do the exam 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
But at the same time, don't do the exam unless you have evidence that you're likely to get the score that you need. And that comes from simulations. For example, if your simulation scores are around 600 and you need a 700, don't go to the exam.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Usually the opposite happens. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true that some people do work better under pressure, and when they do the exam, they finally have that pressure and they excel. And you say, what? You got it happens. But it happens a handful of times every year.
Yeah, you need to have a buffer. You need to have a buffer when you take your simulations. Like I used to score 750, 740 in my simulations, and I got 700 at the exam. So you need to have a buffer. So that's very important. And then responding to your question, what's the difference between the MBA and the master? There is a big difference. There's a big difference. The master, well, I can respond to you from a European perspective. I studied in the US, I did the bachelor there, but for the master, I came back to Europe. So talking about the master, it's definitely a program that prepares you to the work life. So it's a pre-master, it's called pre-master work experience, right? It's preparing you for the workplace. The MBA, it's an intensive program that you take once you have accumulated the solid work experience, at least 5 years, and then you want to specialize. On a specific topic, and you want to reach that specific topic, while at the same time getting a very broad perspective of business, economics, and all the necessary jobs, all the necessary subjects that are needed for your job. But for instance, like in my situation, I have a strong interest for real estate. Okay, so for the moment, I'm doing private equity in a lot of different sectors, including real estate. Okay, so I'm planning to get a lot of experience, at least 5-6 years of experience in different sectors, including real estate, and then later I will do an MBA specifically in real estate, such that I can manage my own private equity fund only in real estate. But the master itself is a program that equips you with all the tools in order to be, let's say, in my situation, a financial analyst in a private equity fund that has all the technical tools to deal with all the sectors, and is able to grow day by day. So it's different. It's different.
So what I want to say,
the master is foundation. The MBA is consolidation.
Okay. What I want to ask you, Rania, is that you're studying at IE? Are you an IE student? Or what do you
No,
study,
I
Rania?
study at ESCP.
ACP, so it's a 3-year program. So, and you're finishing the second year, or you finish the first year now?
I'm finishing the second year.
I know it's time, because I will give you an example of a student of mine who was in your situation, and she applied in October of last year while she was starting the third year at IE, at ESCP, and she got the Master in Finance from LBS, HEC, and HEC. Her name is Sarah Pollens. Maybe you know her. She's from Belgium. But I want to give you an example. You see, it's you know this expression, kill two birds with one stone. So it was interesting for this girl. You see my screen? You see my screen?
Yes.
Hello? Yeah. So this year she was very interesting because she was my student, and she studied at McGill. So it was a long time ago because she finished in 2000. So now she's I don't know, she's what, 42, 43 maybe. And then she took the GMAT and she got 720, I believe, 700 or 720. And then the GMAT, you know, Kevin, is valid for 5 years. So in 2009, early 2009, she came to see me and she said, my GMAT is still valid for 6 months. I want to apply for an MBA. Okay, so you see, Kevin, she has used the same GMAT both for the bachelor, for the HEC Grande École, so the program that Cesare is doing, and Stanford MBA. Okay, so she took the GMAT only once, but all that to tell you that the GMAT is valid for 5 years. Okay, so basically you can take it now, but what I want to say is that for someone like you, okay, you need to. So we have Sarah Pollens, for instance, who is here. She's here, so she was my student, for instance. She prepared the GMAT. Okay, she prepared the GMAT. She prepared the GMAT, and she got her GMAT last summer. Okay, so in July 2021, and she sent her application in October 2021, and she got an admit in November, December 2021. You see? You understand? Huh? So basically, all that, and she got a GMAT. What was her GMAT? 710. So yeah, 700, 710. You see what she did? Huh? Maybe she's an ESCP student. Her name is Sarah Pollens because I'm from Belgium, and so she's from Belgium as well. You see? So basically, it's not too late. It's not too early. You're even a bit late, by the way. Huh? Sarah, for instance, she has already passed the GMAT in June, July. Huh? Okay. So basically, you have to somehow hurry up because you're on time, but you're not ahead of time. Okay, Hanya?
Okay.
Huh? Okay. So maybe I will put you in contact with Sarah Pollens if you want, but that's something that you have to consider. Last 2 questions. So Samrat, what questions have you got for us, Samrat? Hello?
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, it's late for you. It's midnight.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, like, I know the application deadlines are coming, like round 1, round 2, and most of the schools prefer international experience. So I just wanted to ask, like if I am like now planning for some international experience or getting some opportunity, probably I can start that in 2 to 3 months. So I mean, will that count, or can that be portrayed in the application? I mean, that's a question I have.
So basically, yes, I would suggest if I were you, that you apply for January in your case, because then you can capitalize on the experience abroad. That's something that you have to do. So basically, apply more in January in your case because you have a letter of recommendation from a foreign firm. And as you know, many Indian students lack experience abroad. So yes.
Sorry, guys.
January.
Sorry, Hubert. Sorry, Hubert, to interrupt you. Guys, I have to go.
Alors, basically, Cesare, what is the recommendation you like to give?
If you have any questions, feel free to contact me on LinkedIn, and I will answer your questions.
Cesare, what is the ultimate advice that you like to give to the students applying? What is the ultimate advice? Hello?
The ultimate advice is to prepare well for the GMAT, is to strengthen your application, have a very solid CV that portrays all of your work experience that ties specifically into the master or MBA program you want to do, and then I would say prepare very well for the interviews. So if you can network a lot with people that did that program and ask them recommendations on how they got in. So this is the recommendation. Okay.
So thank you very much, Cesare, for being with us. I know that you're very busy with Ardian, and
yes, I have a deliverable for the night. They just send me an email. So. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to contact me. Okay.
So you understand, Kevin, how lucky you are, huh? If you work for private equity, they call you at 10 o'clock and they say you have to work tonight. Huh? There's an urgent urgent work to do.
Bye, guys. Bye, guys.
True.
Bye.
That's true.
Bye.
Yeah. So then, last question for Gustavo. So Gustavo, what is the question that you have for us?
Yes, my question was about recommendation letters. If they have to come from job superiors or from university, better.
Alors, if you're like for instance, Rania, okay, she's still a bachelor student, okay. We recommend to take one professional and one academic, okay. In your case, it should be two professionals, okay. So now, what they recommend is that they want the current supervisor and the previous supervisor. Okay, so I know that in some cases you cannot have the current supervisor because you don't want your boss to nudge you want to leave, especially now when you're going to leave in reality in July 2023. Okay, so if you don't, you have to explain in the optional essay why you have decided to take someone else, and they would perfectly take that into consideration. They understand that sometimes it's impossible to ask the current boss to recommend you. Okay, now of course, how to optimize. You see, for instance, Kevin, we have this student called Juan, okay, who has applied to HEC, but he got an extra recommendation letter from Jordi Casal, okay, who was the former dean of HEC, it helps, of course. So then after that, how can I optimize my recommenders? So your boss is good, but at the same time, if the person who is recommending you is very famous and very known in the school, it's even better, okay. I know that it happened to me that I had people who are recommended by very influential and prominent CEOs or decision makers. It's true that it helps. It helps a lot, okay? Because they will say, look, the guy has access. For instance, I have a student, it happened only once in our history, who got accepted to all the school that she applied to. She got Harvard, Wharton, Stanford, Columbia, LBS, INSEAD, Chicago. It's very rare that you get accepted to 7 out of 7, okay? She was from Senegal, okay, well, maybe it's a reason. But what I know is that she was recommended by Abdou Diouf. So if you know about his story, Abdou Diouf was the former president of Senegal, Abdou Diouf, okay? And he's also the president of the Francophonie. You know, the Francophonie is like the French Commonwealth, if you want, okay? But it's a cultural Commonwealth, okay? So of course, to have such a recommendation, okay, was useful because she was a volunteer for the organization that the president had. And of course, that's something that really impressed them. So she had a good GMAT. She was a woman from Africa. We wrote good essays. She was recommended by the former president of her country. That helps. Okay. But me, see, Kevin, I have a student. Her name is Laure. Okay, and her cousin is the king of Spain. Because you know the Spanish kings are somehow French related because they are Bourbon. And the Bourbon is the French kings. Our kings are called Bourbon, so they are part of the somehow French royalty. And of course, she got a letter from Felipe. I think the current because he's her cousin. Her name is Laure de Dampierre, so the king is her cousin. And she got Yale, and it helped a lot because she was far from being. It's an example of a girl who got Yale with a 620. Okay, so it helped a lot for sure. But you see, I even have an example like that of a guy called Alexandre. Can give his family name, who got recommended by Mr. Cohen. Mr. Cohen has a big private equity fund, and he has donated money to create the Stanford Museum. In Stanford, you have a museum. Okay, the guy got Stanford with a 520. What's a beautiful one? 520. He was recommended by Mr. Cohen. I don't know, he's a famous guy. He's a billionaire from New York who gave, I don't know how many hundreds of millions. So of course, if the guy gave a lot of money, it's very difficult to refuse someone. And my student was very good, except that he was not good at the GMAT. But he was very, very impressive profile. He was working in the arts. Okay, he was a Sciences Po graduate. So he was impressive, but his GMAT was weak, and he got in. And we wrote good essays, I believe, with a 520. Okay, so it's possible. Of course, everything is possible, but you have to compensate in one way or another. So of course, if you're related to the king, if you know a CEO with a Wharton graduate, yes, use it. For instance, you see this girl that I showed you, Victoire Guillot, who graduated from Stanford. She used to work for I forget the name of the company. It's a consulting company, but it's not very well known. It's not Bain, BCG, McKinsey, and she told me that there's a guy who recommends you, and if this guy recommends you in her office, you automatically get accepted. She used to work for Booz Allen, and he recommends one person per year. Okay, so that year was her, and the person that he recommends gets accepted. I don't know why. They trust his judgment. Okay, so maybe, yeah, no, but it can make sense. You can say, have you already written a letter? What has been the result? You know, like when you ask Kevin, are you a good GMAT teacher? So Kevin is famous in Spain, so you know that he's the right person. Maybe in your company, there's a guy with an incredible success rate. Huh, Kevin? Maybe. No, but some people have incredible success rate, like Kevin on the GMAT. You may have someone with incredible success rate. You never know. Okay, it's very rare to meet such a person, but maybe inquire. You have time.
Okay.
So guys, it was very nice. So I don't know if you want to see me. I will be in Madrid Monday and Tuesday. You know, Kevin, and I can meet you at the office at Kay Velasquez.
All right.
Okay.
They'll be here.
Okay. So nice to talk to you. So last year we took care of 31 students, and we got 100% success rate, even though some have had even less than 500 on the GMAT. So have a good day, and I will be super happy to see you, Kevin, because after that it will be September, and work hard. So the first step, the first step is the GMAT. Anyway, you're in the right place, and Kevin will give you all the tools to study well. Don't forget to watch the videos. Okay. Sometimes it happens to me, and Kevin, that I say to the student, I say, "Oh, I miss a class," but I say, "Kevin gives you videos," and they say, "What are the videos?" Say, "Ask Kevin." Okay.
All right.
Don't forget to watch the videos.
Thank you very much for taking time to talk to us.
My pleasure. Have a good day. See you maybe next week. Have a good day, Gustavo.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.